Come on, get in. Oh, hey, the lads. What a win that was yesterday against Borough in what wasn't a derby. I mean, don't get me wrong, if we made it 3-0, it would have at least felt more like a derby. See what I did there? But yeah, an absolutely cracking win yesterday against Borough, and for me, it was absolutely thoroughly deserved. Now, there's probably Borough fans, amongst other fans, waiting in the wings to tell me that the only reason we won was because they went down to 10 men, which for me, of course, it gives us a bit of an advantage. Of course it does. Was it a red card? I think it was. Was it actually a penalty? That's where it gets a bit miffy for me, a bit grey. It's a bit dubious, but we'll get into that as well. But I think for me, even before that, we dominated for large parts. You know, going into the game, we had Pato in goal, Alessi returning at left back as well. I don't think he was fully fit. I think Mowbray said after the game if Alessi didn't step up to the plate, then it would have had to be Jack Clark at left back, and I wouldn't have been particularly happy with that against Borough. Because, you know, Borough, you need to give it to them. They've been an incredible run of form under Carrick. Carrick's done an excellent job there. I think it was 8 wins from 10, or 8 wins from 10, something like that. It was a meteoric rise for them, considering I think he took over and they were like 22nd, 21st or something. So to me, I was actually expecting a really difficult game, really tough game, and it was in parts. But I was expecting them to roll us over, I won't lie to you, because I thought they were looking that good. But I think we competed and we were better than them for large parts. But like I say, we had Alessi at left back. We had Bart and Ballard in the middle with Trey Hume at right back. We had Dan Neil and Evans in the middle. And then we had Roberts, Clark and Ahmad behind Ross Stewart. Now, getting into the game, I think we started off really well, making chances look really bright. The one thing that was frustrating me in that first half was the amount of times we got to wide areas. I know a lot of people have highlighted Jack Clark for this, which, you know, rightly so, but it wasn't just him that was doing it. You know, Jack Clark, what he was great at doing, he was getting down the left-hand side, dragging us up the pitch, he cut inside, and even though a lot of people complained that it's predictable, it was working. 9 times out of 10, it was working. He was cutting inside well. It was just his failure to release the ball that was frustrating, because he was cutting inside from left to right, and even though it was predictable, he was doing it. He was taking them on piece of piss off the time, and then he would win as a foul, or in the end, which was frustrating again, he wouldn't release the ball, and that's when he would lose it. You know, but my general frustration was both sets of wingers. Ahmad sometimes on the right hand side, Trey Hume when he got forward, Roberts, to be fair to him, he was probably the only winger that was actually putting the ball in the box. But that's my point. There's so many times either on the left or the right hand side, you'd have bodies in the box. Diallo might be in there, or Clark at the back post, with Stewart in there, and they're screaming for the ball. And sometimes Borough, they were left as so they were leaving themselves really sort of low at the back. It was almost just 3-on-3 in the box, and we were just refusing to put the ball in the box and messing around with it, little 1-2s, which is nice for a while. But when you've got Ross Stewart, someone like Ross Stewart in the box screaming for it, just whip the frigging ball in, man. Just ping the ball in and see what happens. But we refused to do it a lot. But we got into dangerous areas several times without capitalising. Early doors, the Borough keeper, he's tried to clear the ball away. He's pinged it straight at Ahmad Diallo. He's 1-on-1 with the keeper, takes a touch, and he's just pinged it wide. He tried to hit it hard on the bottom right hand corner, and I thought, this isn't going to be our day, is it? It's not going to be our day, because that is a glorious opportunity. He needs to at least work the keeper there, and he didn't. You know, another goal we had disallowed, which, you know, Ross Stewart was offside, but we were really pushing for it. And, you know, they did have little moments where I feel like Evans, who went off early doors, our captain went off early doors, unfortunately. Hopefully it's nothing too bad. Mishu came on. I kind of wanted Abdullah Bar to come on in replacement of him. But Mishu come on, and he had a stormer, I have to say. You know, I've said before, you know, there's been all this hype around Mishu, but he's only played a couple of games, and he hasn't impressed me whatsoever. I won't lie to you, not one game has he impressed me. Yeah, he gives the ball when he should, plays it safe, but nothing really impressed me of that originally. But then yesterday he come on, you know, in a game like that, hostile atmosphere, the young lad, and he does absolutely fantastic. He did start to control the midfield, kept us ticking over, bringing us up the pitch. But when he first come on in that first half, I feel like he was leaving us at times, as well as Dan Neil sometimes. They were hanging about a bit too far up the pitch. The lines between, or the gaps between the defensive midfield were far too big. So they were just easily getting in behind the likes of Mishu and Dan Neil, and they had all this space which, you know, Akpom would drop into, and he'd drop himself into the hole and would be, you know, all backs against the wall. So they did have those little moments, you know, shots from distance without really truly testing or having any clear-cut chances. But yes, so the first half, particularly right at the end, Ross Stewart has an excellent opportunity. The ball's pinged over the top, it's bounced over the defender, it's pretty much one-on-one with the keeper, but he's just waiting for it to come down. It takes an absolute age. He's tried to go for the top corner, but, you know, Stefan, the Borough keeper's a big lad, he just kind of plucks it out the air, and it was easy enough. But that was the first half, and I felt like we absolutely deserved it in that first half. I felt like we could come away with a good 2 or 3 goals with the chances we made. Second half, early doors, it's an absolutely incredible ball from Patrick Roberts over the top for Stewart. He's chasing his man down. It is pretty much one-on-one the keeper. He's got his defender alongside of him. The defender starts tugging Stewart considerably outside the box. I get that. The foul begins outside the box. And he's got his hand in him. Nothing too bad, but with the momentum, if you're running at that pace, bearing down on goal, even the slightest nudge can send you off balance and send you to the floor. I understand that, and he did look ever so slightly theatric from Ross Stewart. But as they come into the edge of the box, he kind of starts to hit the ground, sort of on the line. So I can understand why Borough fans would feel aggrieved, feel annoyed that a penalty was given. But in terms of a red card, I can absolutely see why the ref give it, unfortunately, So see what I mean? Like, one week I can complain about refs for us, and next week I can understand why they would be pissed off. Like I said, I would be probably pissed off with that decision. I would. Because it was only sort of later on when I looked back and I thought, actually, it wasn't actually, potentially anyway, inside the box. But it's one of those where you need to look back on a good few times. But yeah, so going forward, Ross Stewart steps up, takes a penalty. It's a great save from the keeper, Stefan, but fortunately for us, he powers it straight back into the path of Ross Stewart, who knocks it in to an empty net. And then we do start to control the game. It's a really good football being played. Alessi, unfortunately, he had to come off. It was absolutely incredible, by the way. Absolutely incredible. He was like a man possessed. As was Trey Hume, I need to give it to him. Dan Neil in the middle was an absolute workhorse. I saw it after about an hour or so. He was limping around a little bit, but you can see he did not want to come off at all. And he was just chasing them down like there's no tomorrow. He's pressing, he's tracking back. Was excellent, particularly in that second half. Trey Hume, like I say, I don't see how Gooch gets into this side if he wants to go right back, because Trey Hume has been that good, that consistent. I think he's had a run of 4 or 5 games now, and he's hadn't put a foot wrong particularly. It's only a young lad, and the confidence he has, the sort of the backbone, the spine that lad has. It's easy to crumble in atmospheres like that, being how young he is, but how he hits hard in the challenge, doesn't give a shit. The only one criticism, as I mentioned earlier, is sometimes he'll find himself in a really good position. He would have overlapped, say, Ahmad or Patrick Roberts, and it's an ideal opportunity to get the ball in, but he'll put his foot on the ball and he'll go backwards sometimes. And he's great in contributing to a passage of play going down that right-hand side, but if it falls to him to be the crosser, sometimes he just refuses to cross the ball, and there were several times anyway, on the topic of that sort of thing, since the goal went into Ross Stewart, the amount of times, we had the ball in the box and we're pissing around with it, little nice 1-2s in their box, screaming for someone to shoot, and then we end up slowly working it back all the way back to our defence. Granted, we still keep possession, but there's good 2, 3, 4 opportunities for lads to just take a pop and see what happens. And there was many little half chances that we were creating, plenty of little nice passages of play, so I was really impressed with us. Of course we had 10 men, but then Borough did come into it, and we started to tire a little bit, and you always expect that even if it's 10 men, it don't mean, some people seem to think, okay, you're against 10 men, that means you should be winning 4, 5, 6, 7-0. It's not as easy as that. Sometimes it can prove to be more difficult, and if anything at times, they actually looked a better side with 10 men, did Borough. Getting forward, there were times where you see our midfield was dropping, they were lagging a little bit, and our defence were all over the place at times. And they were making some really good chances, they were getting some corners. I think a few balls dropped them and then to the box where they'd ping it over the bar. They had a shout for a penalty towards the back end of the game as well, where Bailey Wright, who had to come on, he come on, and he's gone into the back of Akpom in the box. Akpom's tried to pull the trigger for a rebound off a shot, but ref didn't give it, so that was a sort of 50-50. You could argue that Akpom's gone now soft, but you could say the same about Stewart at the other end. So we probably did, we had the rub of the green a little bit. But Diallo's goal to make it 2-0 to seal the deal was absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Roberts makes the original run, cuts inside. It looks like he's going to pull the trigger, but he does an inward pass back to Diallo, who's got it inside the box on the right-hand side, cuts him right to left, keeps on doing it. He's taking the mick out of his man, and eventually he just buries it in the near corner. Keeper no chance, he's unsighted. And it sends the crowd wild. So settles a bit, because we did look very, very shaky. If you look at my social media on Twitter, I was literally saying we're pretty much fucking asking for them to come back into this game, because at times we just sat back and we're walking a little bit. We're giving acres of space all over the place for a good 10 minutes, like I say. But then as soon as I tweeted that, the second I tweeted that, we broke forward and scored. So I'm not going to complain, am I? But yeah, 2-0, excellent win. It's a brilliant Borough side. I expect Borough to be there or thereabouts by the end of the season. They've got the squad, they've got the strength and depth, they've got the manager, Michael Carrick, who, as a player, I was a fan of his. You know, I think he was a very, very good player, but he's proven to be a good manager as of right now for Middlesbrough. So I do expect him to be there or thereabouts. But yeah, I think we're only a couple of points off like third place now. So all we can do now, really, is just keep on pushing. I know it's easier said than done, but because it's so close, a couple of wins, and you know, you almost look like you're solidified in the top 6. But if you have a look at the table itself, you know, we're currently in 9th on 41 points. Yeah, 3 with a win, we could easily go to 3rd. You know, from 10th to 3rd, there's 3 points. There's 3 points separating us. It's absolutely crazy. And then you can have a couple of defeats, and it looks like a frigging relegation battle. So it's just so tight. Probably one of the tightest Championship leagues I've ever seen, if I'm honest. It looks second and first, looks almost gone. Sheffield United and Burnley run away with it. Burnley in particular, I can't see anyone catching up with them, obviously other than Sheffield United. But yeah, it's an absolutely excellent win. It's an outstanding win. All we can do is keep on pushing. Of course, we've got the FA Cup, which is, I think, it's a bit of a... Yeah, it's good. Of course, I want us to progress in cup competitions. That's what they're there for. I think more so when we're in League One, they were sort of an unwarranted distraction when you got like the Papa Johns and stuff, because our sole sort of target was to just simply go up, and it was the league. Whereas the Championship now, I think particularly this season, we should have the opportunity to try and enjoy the cup competitions. And, you know, we've got Fulham next weekend, difficult game again. They're looking excellent in the Premier League. But it's a good test for us. I think it's a nice little test. I think if we do put a good performance on, even if we get beat, put a good performance, a good showing of ourselves against Fulham, it can really, really grow the confidence again for the lads, and then we can start hitting the league hard again. But yeah, I think a lot of people started saying this now. Pretty much once, which happened for a while now, but we've played every once. We can see that generally we've been very, very competitive. Now, is it a realistic time to maybe shift our ambitions to the playoffs? Is that realistic? Should we be doing that, or should we simply be settling for whatever happens? You know, again, beginning of the season, I've said it plenty of times, I would have been quite happy with mid-table. You know, coming up from League One, I don't think that's a negative shout or an overly expectant shout, if that makes sense. But now, I'm seeing that most teams, even teams that have been there or thereabouts, we expect to be there or thereabouts, we've given them a game at least. Even the games we've lost, you know, I can't remember that there have been too many absolute horror shows this season. There's been somewhere maybe a ref has been a bit shit for us, or we haven't quite got the rub of it green in general, or just haven't been at it on the day. But I feel like we've competed with everyone. So now is it a good time to say, right, let's push for a playoff place? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. But if you enjoyed this video and you're happy with the 3 points against Borough, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, stay jamming.